All right, this is the next episode of True Wrestling Fan Discussions, continuing our WCW Retro Pay-Per-View review series. This is going to be WCW Spring Stampede 1997. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm Frank, and before we get into it, I just want to. A lot of people probably already know via social media that, and I found out this morning, Steve Mongo McMichael passed away from his long battle with ALS.
So, rest in
So
peace.
yeah, and praying for the family and everybody. I mean, whether you liked him or not in WCW or what he did, or when he was a Chicago Bear, I mean, still that's no way to go out. And man, I'm praying for his family. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into this. April 6th, 1997, from Tupelo, Mississippi, of all places, a capacity crowd of 8,000 on hand for the second annual Spring Stampede. This pay-per-view had a little bit of everything, but the one thing it had the most of was chaos. Just complete, utter chaos. You got Scott Hall that's AWOL.
He's like I think he was like in rehab or something like that at the time. He was
Yeah, and
having
they
some
used the
problems.
storyline that he had disappeared.
You got
Um,
no Piper.
nope, yeah, no Piper, no Hogan.
Flair doesn't wrestle on this card either. He's there, but he doesn't wrestle.
Yeah, they just interviewed him.
Sting
Uh,
is obviously not wrestling yet.
yeah, even though the fans want him. Jeff
Yeah.
Jarrett's getting the biggest pop of the night.
I'm gonna get into that. That was the Horseman pop. That wasn't anything. That didn't have anything to do with him.
Or you could just say what you commented to me yesterday.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it's just a whole lot of things. Let's just get into it. Opening match of the night was actually one of my favorites of the whole night, and that was Rey Mysterio versus the Ultimo Dragon. And now Sonny Ono is not at ringside with Ultimo Dragon. He'll come out later for the women's championship bout.
Hey, I don't understand. I mean, I never looked this up though. I know he was Ultimate Dragon, but why did they call him the Ultimate Dragon?
He went by that when he first came in, and
Was
then
that what
they
it was?
they changed. Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
when he came out, Mike Tenay, when they showed Ultimate Dragon, he also said Ultimo.
Oh, okay, okay. I know him as Ultimo. I'm always gonna call him Ultimo.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's a combination of, I guess that was his name when he was down in Mexico, and then with New Japan. So they used both. I like Ultimo Dragon.
No, yeah.
I think that's
It
pretty
sounds
cool.
better. It just sounds better. I used to always pick him
Yeah.
in the video game too. Remember the
Oh yeah.
World was it World Tour? World Tour was the first one, right? Yeah.
Yes. That
Okay.
and then Revenge.
And then
Oh
Revenge.
man, I love them both.
Yeah, yeah.
The awesome games. Still play them. Mike today joined the commentary on this, and I've said this a lot of times during the NWO's reign in WCW. When you've got an awesome match going on, Tony Schiavone is only focused on the NWO. And during this
Um,
match, which was an amazing match, by the way,
I don't blame Tony for that though. He's probably being told what to say, you know?
yeah, Bischoff's feeding him the lines,
Right, right.
who's
That's what I'm
supposedly
saying.
suspended at this point.
He's suspended, but then he still came out, right? He was out there.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I'm saying chaos, man.
No.
Um, During the match, they go to away to the back with Lee Marshall trying to interview Kevin Nash on the whole tag title match. Now, the original match for the night for
No.
that was the Outsiders to defend the titles against the Steiner brothers. With the whole storyline going, of they ran him off the road. Now Scott Hall's AWOL. What's going to happen? Kevin Nash has demands. The first time Lee Marshall tries to get in there, Six stops him. He's not getting in there, so that's fine. We'll get back to that later. Back to the amazing match. These guys put everything out there. The crowd gave them a standing ovation, both of them. Mysterio with a springboard hurricanrana off the second rope. That's how he gets the pin, and he beats the Ultimo Dragon in this one. Too bad this wasn't for a title, because
Yeah, I
this was an
know.
amazing, amazing match. Following this match, now we go back to Lee Marshall in the back, trying again to interview Kevin Nash. The Steiners trying to get at Nash. Nash's demand is he wants Nick Patrick as the referee
Right.
for the match. Then he spits at the Steiners, preferably Scott Steiner. Somehow Steiner, they said, put a hand on a cop. He gets maced
He gets mazed.
and handcuffed.
He sold it pretty well though.
Yeah, he did. So now our tag title match later on is going to be a one-on-one match between Kevin Nash and Rick Steiner.
You know what doesn't make any sense about, you know what makes zero sense about this? They did that thing with Scott Steiner because Scott Hall wasn't there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they just have, because remember, Scott is not hurt or anything. I mean, Scott Steiner is not injured. So they basically got him out of the match just because of whatever the hell's going on with Scott Hall. Why didn't they just have Six Pac take Scott Hall's place and then
Exactly.
have it attack
The Freebird rule.
right and just have a regular tag team match with the
Exactly,
Steiners.
because if you remember that year on the Clash of Champions,
Yeah, they did the
that.
Freebird. Yeah, they did the
Yeah,
Freebird rule.
Savage took over in the match
Yeah,
for Scott. I believe it was for Kevin Nash.
you might make it a one-on-one.
I don't know, man. Well, why? I would have rather see if they're going to do a one-on-one, do Scott Steiner versus Kevin Nash.
Right,
I thought
Scott's
Rick
the
Steiner versus Kevin Nash. There was too much of a height difference, and it felt to me like a one-sided match. At least with Scott Steiner,
he could have pulled it off. Scott.
Exactly, he can go more toe-to-toe with Kevin Nash.
Right. Yeah.
But again,
we're not the bookers, so
no. This is WCW. We do everything the other way.
Yeah, but they were on fire in '97, though. This is arguably their best year. '97 is arguably their best year.
Yeah, and this was tonight was the most chaotic night for the NWO as well. We'll get into that a little bit later. So now Lee Marshall is going to join the commentary team for the next match. He's talking. He comes out and starts talking about the whole Nash Steiner incident, and then so our next match is for maybe this is the only time they ever defended this. Maybe a couple other times. A WCW Women's Championship match. Akira Hokuto versus Medusa.
Medusa, they brought Medusa in there as basically the star of the women's division, and she never wins the title. She wins the cruiserweight title.
Yeah,
but she doesn't win the WCW women's title because she lost in the finals.
Yep.
Right, and then there
was no women's division.
She loses here.
Yeah, and Marshall mentioned that Medusa's arrival. She arrived with another belt. He brought that up. And he quoted her saying the WCW women's title was her destiny.
Not really.
Well, when you only see it maybe 3 times around this time, and then we don't see it ever again, how is that your destiny?
Medusa never wins the title, man. That's sad.
I don't understand. And she was fine with that. I don't understand.
I guess she was getting paid pretty well. It doesn't matter. Guaranteed contract, she probably didn't care.
Probably. Some people just rather are anti Vince McMahon back then, and then rather just work for the competitor rather than him. I don't know.
Well, Vince got rid of her. He didn't remember he was closing up the women's division. It wasn't really her choice to leave. I don't think she wanted to leave. They closed up shop basically.
Well, they
didn't have anybody.
Exactly. They didn't have a division.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I don't blame her for what happened. The whole thing with the garbage, throwing the belt in the garbage. I mean, that was Bischoff. I mean, I guess she had a choice, but it's what it is.
And then later on, they were able to joke about it.
And I just want to say this because I love Medusa. Alundra Blaze, not so much. Medusa,
yes.
Medusa. I don't care what anybody says. Was the first Paul Heyman girl. So if Becky Lynch goes ahead and becomes a Paul Heyman girl,
no, I think it's gonna be Scarlett.
She's not the first. It's Medusa. I just want that out there.
There's rumors that Karrion Kross and Scarlett could be part of that.
Yeah. Well,
I want them to be
Medusa,
named the Dangerous Alliance.
Nah, I don't even care about. I want Medusa to get her props, man. I like Medusa.
Oh no, Medusa was part of the Dangerous Alliance, ravishing Rick Rude. She escorted him. No, she is the Paul Heyman Paul Heyman girl. No question about it. There's no debating. And if anybody wants to, come on, we can do this all day. Anyway, Sonny Ono was down at ringside for Akira. Not Ultimo Dragon. That's fine. This match had a little bit of chaos. Naturally, while the ref is distracted with Sonny, all of a sudden, here comes Luna Vachon. She came out, attacked Medusa, and Hokuto gets the pin, and she retains the WCW Women's Championship.
Well, so again, the belt means anything, but
nope. But the belt was Medusa's destiny.
Not quite.
Maybe the cruiserweight when she was with 3 count was. I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, a lot of people want to forget 2000. I'm one of them. Anyway, next match on the card was for the television title. It was the new fast up-and-comer, Prince Iaukea, defending the television title against Lord Steven Regal. And finally, we don't get a time-limit draw. Now, because I think they moved it to 15 minutes instead of 10. Because this match was actually 10 minutes. And, of course, during this match, once again, Tony had announced that Scott Steiner was arrested. And now that the tag title match will be a one-on-one
with this clown as the referee,
Nick Patrick, yes. But again, we'll get to the chaos later. Now this match was actually pretty good. Regal helping the kid along in this match, I thought was really good. Iaukea, he was a fast learner. For whatever reason, I don't know what happened to him in WCW. I think they just overnight just gave up on him, and because he was rising fast I mean, he was just there a short time. They talked about how him and Mysterio had the battle for the title and the respect that he had. And now, I mean, I don't know what happened to this kid. All of a sudden, they just turned him into the artist, and he fell off the planet
Oh,
in
Jesus.
WCW. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And I actually liked IAK. I liked his wrestling style. I liked the way he moved in the ring. He was pretty good. During the match, Regal tried to roll up Iakea, but he reversed it and got the pin. And he was able to beat Lord Steven Regal, who was a multi-time television champion. After the match, Regal decided he was going to attack Iakea and apply his Regal stretch. Then Iakea, he hit him in the back of the head with the television title. So he's a little bitter that he lost here, but what are you going to do? Can't keep the title. You can't keep winning the title forever unless you're Hogan. Following that, Mean Gene Okerlund had interviewed Ric Flair, who was on his way back to the wrestling ring, has his sights set on Hulk Hogan, as everybody does. And that's one of the other things in WCW.
Horseman, we gotta renew. We gotta reunite the Horsemen.
And this was at the time that Arn Anderson was going for the operation with the nerves in his arm. Yeah, because pretty soon we're gonna have somebody showing up that my spot. That hadn't happened yet. Next match on the card was the Public Enemy versus Steve Mongo McMichael and your boy Double J Jeff Jarrett.
He broke 6,000 guitars, never drew a dime. When Jeff Jarrett came out, get a rat piss on cotton. The only reason they were getting a pop was because the Horseman thing. That was the only reason. It was the Horseman rub. That was it. I stand by that. I stand by that.
When I heard the crowd getting loud during the match with Jarrett, I'm like, what is going on?
They were rooting for the Horseman. Jeff Jarrett, a former Horseman member. What an embarrassment. There's debate about that. But the thing is that Ric Flair actually said that Jarrett was a Horseman, so we have to go by what Ric Flair says, unfortunately. But if it was up to me, I would have never considered him.
He ran the group. I mean, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Well, anyway, there were several Horseman members that really, if you look back, don't belong. But I mean, it is what it is. Now, this match was total chaos in itself as far as with Public Enemy and these guys. You had McMichael, who took Rocco back to the stage area, which, by the way, they had a very nice setup back there. Kind of like how they do Halloween Havoc, which the way they did Spring Stampede. I liked it.
Remember around this time, McMichael and Jeff Jarrett, they have that whole thing going on with Deborah. And
oh yeah,
the whole mess.
Yeah, this is fun. And after the match was over, you could even see the resentment in McMichael's face when Deborah was talking to him. At one point, Deborah slapped Johnny Grunge, and he puts her on the table. Jarrett hits him with the chair. She gets off the table, thank God. Johnny Grunge goes to the top, tries to go through, he has Jarrett on the table. Jarrett gets off the table. Grunge goes through goes through his own table from the top rope. Now, while the ref was distracted with Mongo Michael, Jeff Jarrett has the figure 4 leg lock on Grunge. Rocco grabs the Halliburton, goes to the first turnbuckle, hits Jarrett with it. Grunge has some weird, I guess his leg was kind of over him or whatever. The referee counts to 3 and Public Enemy beats McMichael and Jarrett. I would have bet anything that this would have went the other way, but hey, I'm not the booker. And after the match, Mongo said, you could see him say he screwed up and got the loss. So yeah, there is dissension between the two of them. And we're going
Thank God Jeff Jarrett gets tossed out of the Horseman like the piece of trash that he is. So
moving on, and by the way, this next segment is the famous segment of 1997.
Oh no!
Mean Gene Okerlund interviewing the Harlem Heat
with Sister Sherry.
Yes, they are involved in a 4 corners #1 contenders match for the WCW title,
which was
versus Giant and Lex Luger,
which was pretty much a tag team match. But
yes, it was.
We'll get to that when we get to the match. Yes, this is the infamous promo where Booker T says a word that he shouldn't have said.
It's a word that I despise, I hate, and they bleeped it on. They
the network.
Said, on the network. Thank God. But when he says Hollywood Hogan, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
And then he realizes what he said.
He goes like this.
Yeah, and Sherry, I don't think it caught her.
Everybody no-sold it.
She's like, "Oh, big baby."
Mean Gene no-sells it. You just keep going.
He didn't flinch or nothing.
Yeah, it's infamous. Hogan laughed about it apparently. Like Booker T spoke to him about it, and like he laughed about it. He
I'm
laughed
really
about it.
surprised they didn't do anything. Like I don't know if they fined him or whatever,
No,
but
it was it's just one of those
it was an
nonsense.
honest slip up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess
He's
the hype of the moment.
right, right,
But yeah,
right.
that's the famous Harlem Heat segment of
Yeah.
1997. Our next match on the card was another really good one for the night. It was for the United States Championship. It was Dean Malenko versus Chris Benoit. And man, these guys tore the house down. And it ends in a no contest because we've got everybody coming down involved in everybody else's business. And it started with Jacqueline coming
Right.
down to attack Woman. And then Jimmy Hart comes down
Yeah, what was going on with that?
and he's stealing the U.S. title. And then here comes an injured Eddie Guerrero,
Eddie Guerrero, yeah.
who's known for trying to steal the title the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Then Arn Anderson comes down and attacks Malenko.
Horseman.
The ref was obviously distracted with everybody else. Kevin Sullivan comes out with a kendo stick, hits Benoit. By this point, the referee just rang the bell.
It's just chaotic. Just chaos.
It was, and the announcers had said it was a disqualification. No, the official rule was a no contest because of everything that had transpired. And then Sullivan, Jimmy Hart, and Jacqueline are pulling Eddie to the back, trying to give him the belt.
Give him the belt, yeah.
As if they're trying to bring him into the Dungeon of Doom. And then, after it's all said and done, Malenko was helping up Chris Benoit because these guys, this could have been the main event. I mean, they left it all out there. These guys did everything they could to each other, and they still had room for more. And it just got thrown out because of all this nonsense. This felt like a Nitro at one point.
We gotta go.
This is something you would do there.
Sting.
But oh no, that's coming. We don't see him, but it's coming. Next match on the card was for the WCW Tag Team titles. It was Kevin Nash versus Rick Steiner with Nick Patrick as the referee. Now you have Ted DiBiase down there. You have Six down there.
Because at this point, Ted DiBiase is still the financier of the. It doesn't last much longer, if I remember correctly. He goes on to join the Steiners for like 2 seconds.
I think it's coming. I think it was like a week or two after this.
It was probably shortly after this.
Because he walked out on this match,
right. But then he comes back out later.
Yeah, I don't understand that part. That didn't make any sense to me when I saw him. I'm like, wait a minute, and then you see Eric Bischoff. I'm like, wait, I thought you were suspended.
The funny part of this match, I know exactly. The funny part of this match is when they can't get the turnbuckle off.
Yeah, it took 2 of them to take it off.
Yeah.
4 times he puts Rick Steiner into it.
Snake Eyes.
Yeah, and that's when DiBiase had enough and said,
X-Pac. What's my X-Pac? Six-Pac. Six-Pac. So it's like.
I mean, it was just it didn't make any sense.
Even Nick Patrick was kind of like, hey,
he reluctantly counted the 3.
Reluctantly, yeah. And then later on, he screws the NWO.
I
don't know what the hell's going on.
Chaos.
Yeah, I have no
because the leader is not here.
Right.
Where is Hollywood Hogan? He is nowhere to be found.
I guess he used up his dates. I guess.
Yeah, they had because remember these guys only working 180 days a year.
Certain amount of dates, and they had to pay him so much money,
Yeah, if they went
over, then Hogan his salary was astronomical.
Oh my God, forget it. But, and don't forget the clause in the Outsiders. If they bring in somebody that gets paid more, supposedly according to them,
yeah, I know
their salary got bumped
favored
up.
nation stuff. I don't know.
There's no time.
Either way.
But in any event, if 4 Snake Eyes wasn't enough on Rick Steiner, then the powerbomb for the second time during the match gets the pin, and he successfully defends the tag team titles against Rick Steiner, who kept on fighting.
No, he did.
And again, like you said, Nick Patrick hesitated on counting it, but he did. Now, following that match, Mean Gene interviewed Lex Luger and the Giant, who were involved in the Four Corners match, which is coming up next. The winner is the number 1 contender to Hogan's WCW title. And like you said, it was like a tag match.
Pretty much, for the most part. There was a spot where Harlem Heat gets in the ring together, but they don't really.
They don't.
And then Luger and Giant, they get in the ring together too.
Yeah.
But then eventually it's
just pretty much Lex Luger and the Giant versus Harlem Heat. And I mean, the match wasn't bad.
No, I thought it was okay.
It was pretty good. Giant with the big boot. Booker T going over that top rope. I was trying to figure out why. I mean, Giant had this one against Stevie Ray.
Why did he tag Alex to
He tags Lex to Lex puts Stevie
torture
Ray the
rack?
torture rack
Right.
and gets the victory.
He
He
gave him the
gave
win.
him the
He
number
gave him
one
the win. Yeah,
contendership.
yeah, yeah.
If I'm the Giant, I want a piece of Hogan's ass again.
After
I want my
everything,
belt back.
especially after everything. No, they dumped
Yeah,
him out of. They dumped him out of the
this
NWO.
is
He
the
goes
first
back.
time. Yeah, the first time.
Right. Yeah. He goes back. Yeah, I didn't get that either, but I don't know. But it works out because then Lex is the number one contender, and Lex beats. I think this is why he beats Hogan. I think on Nitro, right? I think. Yeah.
Um, in any event, so yeah, Lex Luger's the number one contender. The Giant gave it to him. That was a shock, but you know what? If he thinks that Lex Luger has a better shot of
Right.
beating
Maybe.
Hollywood Hogan, go for it.
Yeah.
Following that, they showed Savage and Elizabeth in the back. Elizabeth telling
Mhm.
her, I'm going to invite a bunch of girls. You got a problem with that?" "No, Randy. Yeah, of course, you got divorced. What does she give a shit?" This is where Savage is Loco Savage, pretty
Mhm.
much. And then me, Gene Okerlund, interviewing DDP and Kimberly. This has become personal for both of them, as this was the rivalry of the year in 1997. The main event of the night, no disqualification match. Diamond Dallas Page versus the Macho Man Randy Savage. And man, this match was good.
That was great. They probably had other matches that were better than this,
Halloween
but
Havoc, I believe, was
yeah,
the
yeah.
best
But this
one.
was good, and the feud, the build up, and everything, it was
Poor
good.
David Penzer, man.
This made yeah, and
That boy. Whew.
this made DDP. This feud made
Yes, it
DDP
did.
in '97.
Oh yeah, it did. And I mean, he got Savage, getting the reserve bell, hitting pin, taking Michael Buffer's chair, taking Pinzer's chair, and beating the hell out of him. Um, it was just like total chaos. When he grabbed the bell, first thing I'm thinking about was with the whole Steamboat thing back in the
Steamboat thing,
day.
yeah.
But Kimberly stole the bell from him. Kevin. Now this is where the chaos started. Kevin Nash is watching from the aisleway for whatever reason. Savage hits the elbow drop. We got no referee. Why? Because Savage beat the hell out of the referee. So Nick Patrick comes down naturally. Now,
But
during the whole thing where Savage was delaying the pin, DDP gets the diamond cutter and gets the pin. Nick Patrick had to count to 3. This pissed Savage off.
yeah, he's supposed to
And
be with
Nash.
them. We're supposed to be with them. With
Yes,
the
he
NWO.
is. Now, after that, the whole NWO came down. This is where we see Bischoff when we're being
Right,
told
but
he was suspended.
he's suspended.
Yeah,
And then
unless he's just suspended from like the presidential duty, the official duties. Because remember what they said: if Rick Steiner won that match against Nash, there was no way that he didn't have the power to reverse it like he did in the past.
Right, he did it,
so maybe that was it.
That's probably what it was. Either way, and then DiBiase's back out there.
Yeah, which doesn't make any sense because he walked out earlier in the night. Nash grabbing Nick Patrick and he power bombs him, so he's out. Savage got Kimberly. Bischoff stopped Savage.
Yeah, he stopped him. Yeah.
This
like,
again,
you're going too far. He's like, okay, now you're going too far.
Well, this is Captain Schizo Savage.
Right.
And then the crowd's going nuts. We want Sting. They're all looking up in the rafters. And then Savage goes after Bischoff.
Yeah.
This is where Dusty Rhodes said the NWO is imploding. Where is the leader?
Well, it won't really implode until, the following year, really. But I guess they're planting the seeds, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, this is what I said by chaos. This is how the night ended. The NWO breaking up Savage and Bischoff. I mean, Savage is already pissed off that he lost the match. And that I guess he feels betrayed by his own with Nick Patrick counting the 3. But Nick Patrick, yes, he is the NWO rep. I don't understand why they brought him down, unless they decided unless they decided to go away from them having their own referee and he goes back to normal. I mean, this is where the chaos was, and we just didn't see Sting because Sting is another guy that wants Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Oh, and by the way, this was all night. They also said that the following night on Nitro, we would get to see the first preview to Double Team starting Dennis Rodman. I can do without that, by the way. Yeah. Knock off Blue Jeans or whatever the hell. It was a garbage movie. But yeah, I mean, for the second annual Spring Stampede, it wasn't bad. Just chaos,
3 years
just total
later.
chaos.
Yeah, 3 years later because the last one was
Yeah, in
94.
'94. Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, no, I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was pretty decent. It wasn't a bad pay-per-view.
no, believe me, they have their fair share, but
Yeah.
this one was pretty good. This is also planting the seeds for Savage and Page to escalate their feud
Mm-hmm.
going forward into 1997. Lex
Luger.
Luger, the number one contender for
Right. Mm-hmm.
Hollywood Hogan. Piper, who knows where he is. If he wants Hollywood Hogan. Um, the cruiserweights are on fire at this point. And again, the Malenko Benoit match, amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, that's a review. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. See you guys soon.
Take care.